Hello, everybody, and welcome back. And I do mean back because we have been gone a little bit of a while. My apologies for that. But welcome back to the AEW Dynamite Modcast review show. We are finally here in the studio to talk about AEW as is right and all is good in the world again. I'm joined by Dory, as I always am. Dory, introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself because it's been so freaking long.
Yeah,
Please.
hello everybody. I'm Dory, she, her pronouns. I noticed recently, Adam, that the Louvre had its crown jewel stolen. Do you want to tell me where you were 2 weeks ago and what exhibit you specifically went to?
That is none of your concern. Um, the details of my trip to Paris are between me and the gendarmerie. Um,
Not the French accent.
but yeah, I've been gone quite a while because I was in Paris and then I was in Canada and then I was in America. But now
Didn't
I'm
even
I'm
go to
fi-
see me, by the way, everybody. Didn't even get to go to see his
I,
own
I
co-host.
I was I was in New England as well.
I
Um,
know. I think last year we talked about that too. I'm like, do you want me to come down to Boston? Do you want to come out? And you're like, no, I'm absolutely stacked. And I could hear
yeah,
in the background, you're like, no, it's not happening.
yeah, yeah. My mum's like, "But Adam, we're there in 2 days," and I'm like, "Shut the fuck up." But no, I was very busy.
Yeah,
Although the
absolutely.
weather was really shit because we hit the nor'easter, so we missed one or two ports. Actually, we missed
Oh,
Newport, Rhode Island, and Portland, Maine. So we were in fact stuck in Boston for a couple of days. So it was entirely possible that I had the time to come and see you, but you never got to see
this
me.
is not making me feel any better.
No, but by that time we were in crisis mode. I didn't know what the fuck was
That's
going
true.
on.
That's true.
But yeah, it was a fun time. But I am back home now, and I'm ready to talk about AEW. We should probably talk a little bit about Wrestle Dream actually
Yeah,
before we talk about the Dynamite that happened last night.
absolutely. Yeah,
You
so
watched it. You watched
yeah,
it
I did.
live. I didn't. I was on a plane for the entire thing,
Jeez.
which was gutting. But what can you do?
Yeah, it was really great. I loved, in particular, the tag team matches stole the night. I mean,
Yeah,
besides the I Quit matches, a match, they were probably the tag team matches were almost certainly the highlight of the match. The Bandido versus Okada and Takeshita match, the Bucks versus Jurassic Express. Those were like two of my standout matches. And of course, I loved the I Quit match, even though there was a weird finish there. Everything
I
else was
I
like
didn't mind
solid.
the finish.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I think they just poorly telegraphed whatever they were going for. I think the idea was that he was like vaguely like getting waterboarded in glass. What a fucking sentence. On the ring. But I don't know if that's what they were going for or something else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. Like, it's a nice homage to Sting that
Right,
he
right.
won with his move anyway.
Yeah.
Side note,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that man has aged a decade in a year.
Yeah, I
Um,
know. He just stopped dyeing his hair and everyone's like, "Oh my god, old man Sting."
yeah, like it really is because he never looked old when he was in AEW. Like he was 65 or so, but he never really looked it because he was dyeing his hair and he always had the face paint on and whatever. And now
Right.
it's like, oh, you are an old man now. You were always an old man, but you are an old man. Still
Yeah.
lovely to see him though.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
I really like Wrestle Dream. There's still a couple of matches I haven't seen just because I've been busy and I didn't watch it live, so I've been having to sort of hodgepodge my way through it. But yeah, the tag team, like, do you remember 6 months ago when everyone was sort of dooming and glooming about the tag division in AEW?
Yeah.
What a turnaround! Like, Jesus Christ. You look at all the tag teams that they've added in that time, Bandido, Jurassic Express, Jet Speed, and on the women's, tag team, and we'll get to the women's tag team division.
Sure will.
That sounded negative. I'm really excited for this tournament actually, but yeah, the tag team division in both sort of divisions is brilliant. Which is what AEW is one of the founding sort of missions of AEW to make tag team wrestling good again, and it's good
Right.
again.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah,
very excited.
absolutely. Yeah, we've got a lot of really good tag teams now. I mean, we'll talk about that collision match that they scheduled, but I mean, if you want to talk about
Oh,
embarrassment of riches, that is oh my god.
that is whacking your dick on the table, like, look at the roster I have.
What a metaphor. But yes, Wrestle Dream was really great. I had a good time with it. There were some matches there. Like I think like 3 matches I could have seen on like a Collision main event or Dynamite main event. But for the most part, it was a really solid show, and I had a very good time with it. So I'm excited to see to talk about the fallout on Dynamite, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the show started. Well, actually, the show started with sort of a Wrestle Dream. What's the words I'm looking for? Sort of highlight
Recap?
reel, if you like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is basically what we've just done. So we don't need to talk about that. I like. So as far as I can remember, and obviously I was focused on the action last night. It was mostly a 2-man broadcast table, really, for a lot of the night, right?
I didn't even like I was paying attention, but I didn't even notice that. So it was Excalibur and Brian. Yeah, I don't think Tony was on the call, was he? Because I think we would have been complaining about him if he was.
Yeah, or if he was, then he was wholly inoffensive, which is a change for Tony Schiavone on commentary nowadays.
Would be, yeah. Yeah, love Tony, but yeah, he needs to get off the commentary table.
Point being, if it was, I'll need to check that. We're brilliant podcasters. We know all of the facts.
Absolutely.
Let's go in. I can't.
We do so much research ahead of time too.
But if it was a 2-man thing, keep doing that, because I love the commentary last night. Excalibur
the only way
and Brian.
You can make it better is add Nigel.
Yeah. Oh my God. Can you imagine Excalibur, Brian, and Nigel on commentary? That would be incredible.
I'm sure William Regal can.
Or Excalibur, Brian, and Taz, because you have the duo of Excalibur and Taz that with all their energy, and then just Brian being like, the greatest sort of color commentators.
We basically did have that for a couple weeks, and then Taz got shoulder surgery or something.
That man is breaking down faster than my car, let me tell you. And my car is fucked. Sorry, get well soon, Taz. But yeah, what was after the recap? Oh yeah, Hangman Page said basically that I'm going to ruin Samoa Joe's goddamn life. He warned Joe, blah blah blah, and then as if by magic, guess who comes out for the opening match? It's Samoa Joe and his friends. What did you think?
Samoa Joe and friends.
Yeah, I mean, I might get some hate for this. I don't like the name The Ops. I just think it's
I watch a lot of Simon Miller just so I don't have to fucking watch the Fed, but I can still vaguely know what's happening, and so I can make fun of it. And he keeps calling them the opportunities, and it rage baits me every fucking time. I know he knows what the fucking ops means. I'm pretty sure even during one episode he's like, I know it means like like your opponent, your rival, but I'm just gonna keep saying this because it makes people mad, and I respect it, but god damn it works. Anyway, so Samoa Joe and the opportunities came out.
That makes it sound like some sort of 60s band.
Jamie Hayter and the opportunities. Although she's more 70s, but I digress. Anyway, what was your question? I feel like you asked me a question and then we got diverted.
No. I only said that I don't like the name The Ops because I was saying Samoa Joe and friends and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Ops versus the Hurt Syndicate for the World Trios titles. I was really looking forward to this match. I thought it was a good match. But I do have one major thing wrong with it, which is one of the only things I have wrong with this show, by the way. I thought this was a really excellent show, and we'll get to some of the really fantastic bits later. What did you think of this match? Because I want to talk, a couple bit about the good things, because this was a really good sort of hard-hitting match before the thing that I didn't like happened.
Right. And I know what you're going to say, and I'm probably going to agree with you. Great match. Really, like you said, really hard hitting. I think it's very funny, this dynamic of Joe trying to get heat, but he can't because everyone thinks he's too fucking cool. The only way Joe ever gets heat is when he's trying to get heat from making fun of Hangman, because people love Hangman so much, and I think this is such a testament to the work AEW has done with Hangman, that they will boo him, or they won't boo him, but they'll chant cowboy shit, which is pretty much shit in one hand, poop in the other, right? That's not how that saying goes, but
That's
And
um,
so yeah. But basically, like, it's the same damn thing. They might as well be booing him, right? But
yeah.
they don't want to boo him. No one
It's
wants to boo Samoa Joe.
it's basically the equivalent of we like this guy more than you, so shut the fuck up.
Right.
As opposed to like we hate you, it's like you're not Hangman. Calm down.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I thought, like you say, I really like that dynamic because it's some like I said during the live chat when we were chatting about it, like it's Samoa Joe. Like they're not gonna boo you, man.
Yeah.
Calm it down.
Yeah. I think the only time they ever booed him the whole match was when he took the big meaty men slapping man meat away from them. I think Hobbs and Lashley were going to go at it towards the
Yeah,
beginning of
yeah,
the
yeah.
match. Yeah. But that's meaty man meat. Like they're not even upset about they're not even mad at Joe. They're just mad at like what the fuck? Like we want to see big men slapping man meat.
I really
I think
really
that
like the
did end
spot.
up happening towards the end of the match, but I can't remember. Go ahead.
Yeah, it did. They couldn't
Yeah.
deny it forever. I really like the spot, by the way. It was sort of early in the match when Shelton was up on the top rope, jumps. Joe does like the walkaway spot like he always does, but Shelton landed on his feet. And
Yeah.
Joe turns around, sees him land on his feet, and goes, "Oh no, fuck this! I'm out of here." And tags in Hobbs like, "Nah, I'm not dealing with that."
I love the little hand motion he made Hobbs. He's like, clean up do my busy work for me. Come on, Hobbs. Like, what the fuck? And it was very funny because after I'm skipping ahead. We're still going to talk about the match, but I'm just thinking about it right now, so I want to mention it. But Joe was body shaming the audience for some reason, even though he's a big man himself, so it doesn't really make any sense. But he was like making fun of them, and Hobbs starts like grinding on the ring or some shit. And I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Samoa Joe's point was like, thank goodness that San Antonio has so many fat women around because they're the only women that could handle Powerhouse Hobbs. I think that
Oh,
was
right.
basically the point that he was making. Like
Mhm.
Hobbs is so giant that it's a good thing that all you ladies out there are so big.
You know who looked great in this match, by the way, Adam?
Yeah, I do, and it surprised me. Oh wait, did you mean someone else?
Actually, I want to hear what you were gonna say.
I was gonna say MVP.
Oh, actually, I
I
think he's been looking good. We haven't really been able to talk about his in-ring return because we've been away. Adam's been stealing crown jewels, etc. But
mm,
allegedly. And but I was gonna say Shelton Benjamin, and I just wanted to like say I know he always looks good, but I just wanted to shout it out again. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. MVP has been looking good in these few matches. I love the balling spot. I know it's nostalgia bait. I know it's a nothing move, but it
the
pops me every
man,
time. I love it.
the man's like over 50. Let him have his
Yeah,
nostalgia, and also,
absolutely.
it's not as egregious as like the worm. So
Yeah.
or the people's elbow. Um, so like in terms of moves that have sort of little impact but pop the crowd, I think it's one of the least offensive ones out there.
Mm,
Because he doesn't ham it up for long.
yeah.
But anyway, that's beside the point. I really like it, but we
Are there
do
any
need to
other
talk
spots
about.
you wanna call out, or you wanna get to the bad stuff?
I no, I mean it was a good match. I liked Shelton and Joe. I thought they had a really good dynamic of Joe, properly bumping for Shelton because it's Shelton Benjamin and he will make you hurt. I think even more than Bobby Lashley. But apart from that, I think we should probably get to the bad thing, which is towards the end of the match. MVP had. I don't want to say he had Joe won, but he was going for the playmaker, which is his finish. It's a bad finish, by the way, but that's beside the point. He's over 50. Let him have it. But then who should distract Montel Vontavious Porter? But Ricochet again, and like causes the distraction. MVP gets caught in the clutch, Samoa Joe's thing, and he taps out. I How many matches have they had? Three now, including
Great.
like
Yep.
a big stipulation one, and
Yep.
also a tornado tag at the pay-per-view. Why are we not done?
It's been such a weird feud. I've liked it in parts, but it's been so weirdly paced. It felt like they should have done the tag match, then the trios match, then the street fight at Wrestle Dream. Instead, they did a regular trios match at the pay-per-view, a street fight on a random Dynamite, and then they did another trios match. And then they did a tag match, and then didn't they? I think they've done 4 matches. I'm not sure. I've lost count, to be honest with you.
Sorry, this feud started at Forbidden Door. I've been to 3 countries and become an international cat burglar since then, and this feud is still fucking going on. Like, can we get to the point? I don't know.
Yeah,
this is the thing. This is the thing. There was some criticism I saw from people that was like, oh well, this Dynamite has a lot of sort of continuing feuds with like Mox and Darby and stuff like that. And with those, I could see like, well, you want to stretch Mox and Darby out because they want to do blood and guts, and that Darby hasn't killed the Death Riders officially yet. Blah 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 blah. I can see rationales. With this one, I just don't know why we're stretching it out. You know what I mean?
There has to be a damn good reason. Either Hurt Syndicate is initiating a new member, the Demand is winning the titles, or Hurt Syndicate are, or like maybe it's a, like, this is my thought. This is my only thought towards, in general actually, but towards this particular program.
Add one.
What? Yeah, add one. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the Demand into the Trios titles program through the Hurt Syndicate, and it'll lead at Full Gear, which I'll be at, by the way. They'll have some kind of like 4-way trios match. Maybe it'll be Tornado, maybe it'll be regular. I don't know. I don't know what other babyface trios tag is out there. Maybe you can think of one, and I haven't off the top of my head, but
I don't know.
Because most of the trios I can think.
Friend?
What's that?
Did Jet Speed have like a friend?
Willow Nightingale. Put the titles on them.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps you can have like 3 of the fucking, I don't know, conglomeration or something.
Right. You can do that.
Cassidy, Briscoe, and Ishii. That'll do.
As we see later on, they're probably fighting Death Riders.
Yeah, that's true.
Guts. But that's different. Those are different dates. So that doesn't matter. Anyway, continue.
But here's my sort of rebuttal on that though.
Right.
The trios division is so absolutely like diabolically crap right now that you could just put the Demand in the tag title picture. You know what I mean? You could just say, hey, here's Ricochet and the Gates of Agony. They're cool. Put the belts on them, or put them in a feud for the titles or something. Because who the fuck else are you gonna do it with? The fucking frat house. Like, you can just do that. You don't need to extend this feud for no reason. That's where I'm at with it anyway. I don't want to bitch too much about it because, like I said, there's a lot of good things to talk about on this show, and I don't want to be the guy that focuses, most of his time on the one thing he didn't like rather than on the 10 things he did. But it just does not make sense to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Samoa Joe takes the mic after the match because they won. Called the crowd fat. Very very Scott Steiner of him. And basically, said he did some like crowd work. I think he said something about Texas sports teams. I don't fucking know.
I don't know. Sports.
I mean, the Cowboys aren't very good, I guess.
I guess, who cares?
But like, yeah, it was a standard promo. He's a good promo, but he was basically saying like, Hangman Page, I'm going to kill you, because that's what he does.
I do love his explanation. He said, now into the question, why, Joe, why? And it's really simple, and this is so badass. Because I exist. As long as I'm on planet Earth and you call yourself a champion, I will come hunting for you. As long as you stride this earth thinking you're the man, the very best you can be, I'm waiting to show you that you are not that man. That is just fucking incredible. He's like, it's like Samoa Joe, why? Why did you turn heel? Because I wanted to, bitch. Next question. It's like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, and no one else could get away with that. No one else could get away with that except fucking Samoa Joe. But I will let him get away with that.
Yeah, because, well, who are you to say no to Samoa Joe? Like,
right.
Fuck out of here. Anyway, then after that match, we had Renee Paquette backstage with Chris Statlander. Basically, saying like, thank you to Tony Storm for their great match, blah, 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 blah. she doesn't. What's the word I'm looking for? She doesn't care about Mercedes Monet's title celebration. Basically says that, I've done all of these things that you haven't, including hold the women's world title. And I gotta be honest, it is a bold, brave choice that I did not see coming for us to be 18 months into Mercedes' tenure in AEW when she hasn't won the world title. I
Yeah.
thought she would have been world champion by the end of last year.
I thought she was beating Tony. So
Yeah.
remember that? Remember when I was so sure she was beating Tony?
I thought I didn't. I was like 70-30 that Tony was beating her. And I was right. And by the way, I don't think this gets talked about enough. We're going on a bit of a tangent, tangent number one, mark it down, Justin.
Yeah.
Of all the great matches at All In this year, and my match of the year is still the main event, the Texas Death.
Right.
That I feel like Mercedes and Tony goes under the radar as a truly brilliant match. I adored that match. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, that was incredible stuff. It made Tony and Stats match at Wrestle Dream a little weird to me because it just under delivered. Tangent number two. Just made that kind of weird for me because I had pretty high hopes for that. Like these are two of the best women's wrestlers, but I don't know. I think you could tell it was their first match with each other one on one because the chemistry just wasn't there for some reason. I'm not sure if that's just going to take time or it's just a one and done, but.
That
Still a great
happens with
match. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think it was bad by any means, but it just fell short of my high expectations for both of those ladies.
That happens with some wrestlers sometimes. Like I always think of the go-to of great wrestlers with bad chemistry as being, unfortunately, Bryan Danielson and Kazuchika Okada. I just don't think they have great chemistry, even though on paper. I remember before Forbidden Door a couple of years ago, people were saying that could be like the greatest match of all time, hyping it that much because it was those two men. And in the end, I mean, I know Brian broke his arm halfway through the match, but even then,
Right.
the matches they had since, it's like, they're good, but they're not Brian versus Okada what I expected good.
It's not.
And I feel
it's not Brian Kenny, right?
Yeah, and I feel like
There's nobody calling somebody else Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. So
Jesus Christ.
The deep cuts.
But what was I saying? Yeah, Chris.
You were comparing.
And,
you were lamenting that Okada and Brian is not actually as good in reality as it sounds on paper.
Yeah, and I feel like you get that just sometimes with two great wrestlers, and maybe that's just what.
And that's totally fine. That's totally fine. But anyway, I liked this promo a lot from Stat. She looked really good, and I think what was so great about this promo is she very effortlessly and naturally made the discussion less about, oh, Mercedes has already beaten me 2 times to I've won the world title and I've beaten Tony twice, which you have never done once, either of those things. And I'm like, that's a really good rebuttal. Like, and that appreciates like their history, and not dismisses it, but still says, I'm not the same person. I'm a lot different. It's obviously it's a classic babyface promo, but the way she did it, I thought was really smart. And I mean, in general, Status, such a good promo and a much better promo than she used to be, which, obviously that takes time and stuff and TV exposure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she's been off when you consider the injury she's had. And even then, a lot of the sort of feuds that she's had since then, like the Willow and Chris feud and all of that, she always had Stokely Hathaway to talk for her. So I feel like, while she's been an ever-present sort of deal on AEW, I feel like she hasn't had as much promo time as you would expect, given her longevity in the company. So,
one last quick thing to say about this is just that Stat tells Mercedes to have a nice celebration tonight. So we'll talk about that later.
Very, very true. After that, Darby Allin, fresh off his main event victory at Wrestle Dream, spoilers, this was like this could have been an email.
Yeah.
It was just, and I don't mind it. I don't mind it because I've said before that sometimes you just need promos for the sake of promos. Not every segment has to be sort of, oh, and now he gets interrupted and does this. Sometimes you can just have someone come out and just be like, hey, this is my mission statement going forward. And this was basically what Darby said. He was like, the Death Riders, and he basically said, as long as the Death Riders are still here, I won't be far behind. So,
Yep. And I immediately
laying
said,
out,
that's stalking, Darby. That's illegal.
but laying out explicitly, for the mouth breathers who can't read, that as long as the Death Riders still exist, Darby will be trying to kill them. So for anyone who was like, why are Darby and Mox still feuding? Why is Darby still going after the Death Riders? Because the Death Riders still exist.
Right.
Like, it's
Yeah,
as
and I
simple as
think
that.
I don't think that they're long for this world. Even commentary, I feel a little mixed about commentary doing this, but they even noted like how much faith can the Death Riders have in Mox after he lost that match. I would rather have them not said that and just lay that, like, have that kind of cooking underneath. But because it seems fairly obvious to me that that's what would happen. But I guess
Yeah, but
wrestling fans.
what you got to consider is, Dory, some people are like absolutely fucking thick as shit, so they
Yeah.
need things spelled out to them.
Thanks, Big Damo. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, half of wrestling fans and some wrestlers.
Yeah,
But anyway, um, there were a lot of promos in between these two matches. Jesus
there
Christ, I was
were.
noticing that. Yeah, Jurassic Express. They said they're coming after the belts, which is cool. I am
Yes.
very much looking forward to that. But, Bandido versus Jurassic Express will be absolutely. Oh my god, I'm just thinking about Brody versus Luchasaurus. That is
Oh
going to be
man, what if they
so
did that at Full
fucking
Gear? Oh my
incredible.
lord.
Oh, please, I'm begging you. Although, there is like a 10% part of me that is like, Full Gear needs to be an absolute shit show, because you'll go in.
Look, bro, not every show can be goddamn World's End 2023. All right, so leave me
Yeah,
alone.
I suppose you've suffered enough. You've
I
suffered.
have.
Was that your
Uh,
first AEW show as well?
no, 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 no. I had definitely been to many others. And
Was it
had
your
been
first
to
pay per view?
I don't think so. I think I had been to a Full Gear at that point.
They had
Probably
what?
what's that?
Yeah, they've done Full Gear 22, I think, in New Jersey. So,
Yeah, I'm almost positive I was there.
did you
It was a
watch
great show,
MJF win
but
the world
man,
title?
yes, I did. Yes. Yep.
Oh, so you watched him win and you watched him lose. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I got to see that whole thing. But I will say about the Jurassic Express and Darby stuff. I know obviously both of them probably could have been an email, but I do like, and again making a reference to Simon Miller, he kind of made this point on one of his like ups and downs or whatever, where he was saying like it's nice to get that followed through after a pay-per-view where you don't have to have a match, but you can just have guys like saying shit and keeping them on TV and keeping that
Yeah,
momentum going forward and like making their intentions known. I mean, that's basically what this was. But yeah, I mean, nothing amazing, but I thought it was good that they followed up from the momentum of the pay-per-view.
yeah,
And
and
speaking
that
of
was.
doing that, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that was my point earlier, that like
Yeah,
you can just have promo segments where they're like, "This is my mission statement. This is what I'm going to be doing. This is why I'm doing it," sort of thing. And it doesn't
yeah.
need to be interrupted, or it doesn't need to be some hand up angle. You can just say it. Um, and also, I should just phone Simon Miller because apparently I'm practically co-hosting with him now.
uh, so yeah, we had that four-way tag match between
Yes,
a whole bunch of women. This was a great match. I really liked this one.
it really was. Hold on, let me see if I can remember. I'm not looking at this. I'm not looking at my notes. It
Okay.
was Willow and Harley
Yep.
versus Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata versus
Yep.
Megabad
Yep.
versus, oh god, who was the 14? Oh, it was Julia Hart and Sky Blue.
Yes, Sisters of Sin.
Hey,
Yes.
because I
Yeah.
remembered, as soon as I remembered Jamie and Aminata, I was like, oh, I remember the finish, and that was definitely Penelope Ford that got murdered and then murdered again.
Yeah, I hope
Um,
Penelope's okay, by the way. It looked like she was really in a lot. I mean, she could have been selling, I don't know, but she looked like she was in a lot of pain towards the end of that match. I don't know if you noticed that.
yeah, I did. I don't know whether it was selling. If it was selling, then bravo to you. But
Yeah.
if it isn't, then
She was
please be
literally
okay.
hitting the fucking mat out of pain. I was like, "Girl, you good? Like, you okay?" And then she took that brutal finish.
Oh
I
my
was like,
god,
"I guess she
we'll
is
get
good.
to
She's
that.
got to be good."
We'll
What?
get to that. That was
Yeah, yeah,
fucking
yeah.
brilliant.
So good.
But yeah, this was a really good match. I really like the fluidity of this match because when you've got four teams, 8 women, and it's sort of traditional tag rules. there should be absolutely no dead air in this match. There should always be something going on. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like they managed that very well, I thought. Where there was no real downtime, no sort of, oh, what are we doing now? Where it was just pure sort of, and I think Willow helped a lot with that because Willow is genuinely one of the greatest women's wrestlers in the world right now.
Mm.
Where her what's the word I'm looking for? Matt's presence and knowledge of the foundations of wrestling and knowing where to be, knowing what to do, knowing how to keep a match flowing, I think is it's an underrated talent because I don't think many wrestlers. It's easy to sort of get the hang of, but it's very difficult to master, and I think she's doing really well with it.
Yep, totally
Yeah, that
agreed. Yeah.
that was a lot. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just didn't have much to say except Willow's great, and I totally agree. But yeah, this was really good. There's a lot of obviously tag team moves going on. Penelope looked great as always, had that handspring shoulder thrust that she does. Bane looked incredible. Obviously, as you said, Willow was kind of the glue to the whole thing. Julia and Sky, I hate to point out botches because like everybody makes mistakes, but like they had this moment where like I think one of them went to go pin, I think it was Aminata or somebody else. And then they're like, wait, no, we gotta do this move. And then
Yeah, yeah,
Aminata
yeah.
reversed it and then went to go tag someone else. I was like, okay.
See, that's what I'm talking about when I say Willow has that sort of presence of mind, that sort of wrestling brain to know, okay, what comes next? How do we keep the match flowing seamlessly and keep it coming? And I don't like to single out people in any way, shape, or form, but
Right.
I do sort of think to myself, there's been a lot of focus placed on Julia Hart in the women's division for a long time. I I sort of expected more by now. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
not nice to say.
She started off really promising, and then I just haven't seen her really improve much.
Yeah, and
Which is a
and
shame.
like
I love Julia. I love her song. I love her presence. I think she can be good on the mic. But in ring, I just haven't seen, like you said, haven't seen the improvement that I'd want. I think she's young. She can still absolutely get better in the coming years. But I hope that happens sooner than later because I feel like
I
Sisters of
think
Sin
she's
might
one of
not be
these.
touching those tag titles anytime soon. If not.
I think that she's one of these wrestlers, these young wrestlers, and I've talked about this sort of ad nauseum before, so I won't go into the nitty gritty of how I feel about it again. She's one of these young wrestlers that I just think, in an ideal world, you hook them off TV, and Hook is another one. Speaking of hooking, um, you take them off TV. You say to them, "We will bankroll you for a year or even longer. You are one of the future stars of wrestling, but you're not quite there yet. Go off, take as many indie bookings as you can. Crisscross the country. We will pay for your flights. We will pay for your hotels. We will pay the booking fee. Just we'll do all that because we're investing in you. Go and get as many reps. Go and experiment. Go and find your wrestling style on the independent scene. And when you are ready, we will bring you back a more fully formed, more TV ready, more up to the style of AEW wrestler." You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but what if instead they just hung out with their friends and smoked weed? I don't know. That sounds, that just sounds way more fulfilling as a wrestler for some
I,
people,
I,
you know.
I know I sound like an old head when I'm like, oh, these kids, they don't want to improve, they just want to sit around. But it is like it's important for the future of wrestling. I don't. When you look at someone like Carl Fletcher and how much he has gone, the length that he has gone to improve himself, to improve his wrestling, to improve his physique, his overall sort of presentation, and his acumen in wrestling. How are they not inspired by that? Like, how do they not look at that and think, oh, wow, look at all the opportunities? Look at the massive, if you want pure motivation, look at the massive fucking contract that Carl Fletcher's just signed. By all accounts, he's one of the best paid, wrestlers in their 20s that's ever been in this sport. So, like, how is that not pure motivation for these people, for these wrestlers to go out and be like, oh, I need to go and do what Carl Fletcher's doing. I need to, improve. I need to get reps under my belt. I need to go and do this. Like, I don't know. If I'm
Yeah.
if I'm a wrestler, I know I said I wasn't going to go into any sort of depth, but I'm rolling now. I don't give a fuck. If I'm a wrestler, like I don't know, like Hook or like I don't know, I don't want to single anybody else out, but Hook. Um, if I'm one of these sort of younger wrestlers who isn't necessarily doing a lot on AEW TV, I am saying to them, I'm begging Tony Khan. I'm looking at the state of New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm looking at DDT. I'm looking at CMLL, and I'm like, send me all of the. Send
And
me
Hook.
everywhere. Yeah, send Hook. No, but like send me to go and do the roads to destruction tags in New Japan. Send me to go and do I don't fucking know all of the CMLL Viernes Espectacular. Whether they'll accept them on the Arena Mexico shows or whether they just do the house shows on Arena, in CMLL or something like that. Send me to Revolver. Send me to Prestige. I know Prestige is shut it down. Send me to DPW. Send me to House of Glory. Send me to I don't know DeFi.
BK just showed up to West Coast Pro. Brian Keith just showed
Yeah,
up to West Coast Pro. So
yeah. Go to West Coast Pro. Go to DeFi. Go to go to England. Go to Rev Pro. Go to Progress. Go to I don't
he's gonna
fucking
run
know
out of
who.
promotions, folks.
Yeah, I'm. Go, come to Exposure Wrestling in South Wales. We want you. We love you. We had Eric Redbeard come before he went back to the Fed. Um, but like just go and do something.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry,
That's okay.
Julia.
You know what else was cool, by the way? That assisted cutter that no, the super Mega Bad, I was trying to say, but Mega Bad do. I fucking love that assisted cutter. It's so good. The one where Bane picks up Penelope and Penelope just fucking does her usual cutter, which already looks really good on an opponent. Just great stuff. But yeah, we should
Yeah.
probably wrap this up. They here's how the match ended. Hayter made a blind tag on Willow, and that made her and four Penelope the legal woman in the match. And then I'm kind of paraphrasing, but basically, Hayter Aminata double teamed Willow, got her out of the ring with a double back elbow, and then they did this incredible finisher, which
Mm.
Adam will probably gush about, but I'm going to gush about first because Adam just went on a big spiel. And they this is how they wrote it. They snatched forward back to her feet so Aminata could thump her with a headbutt, immediately followed by a haterade. Holy shit, this finisher was so cool. I hope they have a name for it, but this finisher fucking ruled, dude.
It really did, because like one of those things is enough to end somebody. Two right after one another is like that's. I saw someone say, I can't remember who it was, that was like, "Oh, Penelope Ford just got hit with the fuck off and die finisher."
Yes. Mark Davis just came back and he can't say close your eyes and count to fuck, but these people can say fuck off and die. Mark
But
Davis
like,
is
yeah,
sweating back there.
it's so good. But yeah, that meant that Queen Aminata and Jamie Hayter got the win. They got to choose their opponents for the next round. They chose the Sisters of Sin, which that's who I choose. I'm just saying, I don't want to be mean about it. I don't want to drag Julia Hart anymore. It's who I choose. Um, but good for them. I love this next bit, by the way. Where backstage we see the
Yes.
Young Bucks, the Broke Bucks.
I
Uh,
called this, by the way. I know no one will believe me because it was in my fucking head, but I called what was going to happen.
oh, I didn't. I fully sort of popped like a
Oh,
motherfucker
I
for this.
popped too. I popped even more because I called it. But anyway, go ahead. Go ahead. This is great.
But yeah, they're knocking on the door for Tony Khan. They're saying we want a money match right now because we're so fucking broke. We'll wrestle anyone. We'll team up with anyone. And Tony comes out of his office, goofy as ever. We love him. Um, and he was like, "I've been watching, on the monitor in my office because we are live, folks." And he said, I'll put up some money. I'll put up $400,000, 4 on 4, because he loves his alliteration in these things." And he said, "You'll face anyone. So you'll face Jurassic Express again. You'll face Jet Speed, and you said you'd tag with anyone. So how do these guys work?" And out comes FTR from Tony's office inexplicably, which I don't think about it. Um, but I was like, I was like, oh shit, like the Bucks and FTR team, they teamed like 5 years ago in that really weird builds to their match. Where they were friends, but then they weren't, and then there was a whole thing with I don't fucking know. But yeah, I was like, this is gonna be incredible.
Yeah, so as soon as Tony came out and they were like, "We'll tag with anybody," I was like, "It'd be fucking sick if it was FTR." I was like, "Would they do that though?" And then FTR came out. I was like, "Ah, they did it!" This is an incredible match. FTR teaming with the Bucks, two of the best to ever do it, versus Jet Speed and Jurassic Express, two of the newer best to ever do it, if I may say so myself. Jet Speed has been incredible. And I'm just so excited for this match. Collision is must see, if only, and it's not just only, by the way, because of other matches we'll talk about later. But if only for one match, this match. Like, this match should completely sell you on watching Collision live.
Yeah, it's gonna be incredible. I'm so looking forward to it. I haven't seen any spoilers from the taping.
Yeah, I haven't either. I'm gonna avoid them like the goddamn plague.
I have
But
to
I'm pretty
imagine.
sure FTR and Bucks won't be able to coexist. Yada yada. The Bucks will lose again. I do think we are heading towards Bucks turning face one last time and going on kind of a full time. They're doing like a Brian. I think they'll do like a Brian Danielson. Obviously, I could be very wrong about this, but I feel like they're turning face one more time, rejoining the Elite one more time, and then, which I'll always eat up, by the way.
Yeah.
And right before we can lament the fact that they're not heels anymore, they'll probably retire from full-time wrestling. I don't think they'll fully retire, but I think they'll take a break at the very least. Because I just don't know what else there is to do for them at AEW anymore, really.
It would
I mean,
not
besides put over
surprise
younger teams, obviously, which they're already doing.
It would not surprise me, and I know people won't want to hear this. It would not surprise me if they fully retire. If they have like a
Yeah.
full on, Sting, I'm not coming back. This is the final retirement. Just
Yeah.
because they have done absolutely everything. They wanted to change the business, and they have more than perhaps any, you know, in top five sort of wrestlers in terms of changing the landscape of professional wrestling. And
Yeah.
they've won everything. They'll go down as one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And Matt's back is perpetually fucked. Like, it just would not surprise me if in the next couple of years the Young Bucks firmly, fully retire. And I'll cry.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to go too far, but I wouldn't be surprised either. And it's a real bummer. I get sad just thinking about it, but I mean, they got to take care of themselves and their families first. So I obviously support whatever they do. I mean, they've had an incredible career. They could leave right now and be one of the best tag teams of all time, if not the best. So I am really happy for for whatever they do, and also kind of sad. But yeah, hopefully don't have to worry about that for another couple years. In the meantime, we had one of the best parts of the show. I'm so excited to talk about this part. This was the
Yeah.
Mercedes 12 belts, which had a very which had a very good opening, and then had a very a little bait and switch at the end there. But yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about this or should I, but
Yeah, no, we can all talk about it. Because yeah, I really like this. I thought this was very funny. And I saw some people moaning about like, oh well, why is this so, such a comedy thing for Mercedes? And it's like, it's a 12 belts championship celebration. Were you expecting like fucking Kenta Kobashi versus Mitsuharu Misawa? Like, it's gonna be comedy, and also if you're gonna do comedy, you can go a lot worse than Harley Cameron at comedy. So Mercedes Moné is making her way to the ring. Renee's in the oh, she's not making her way to the ring. Her theme song hits. All of the chaperones carrying her belts. Renee's in the ring, and the mini Monet, the puppet, pops up from underneath the table and starts saying say hello to your CEO, and Harley Cameron is brilliant.
that was a pretty good impression. I wasn't sure what that was going to sound like, but that was decent, Adam.
Thank you. I'm very good at this sort of thing.
This very
But
specific, imitating a puppet who's imitating a world champion or a champion of many belts anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a talent I didn't even know I had, but now I'm here.
Yep.
But yeah, she's like, I love this celebration. Come on, Renee, shake your hips. It's getting worse, isn't it?
It was getting worse, and then the shake your hips thing kind of saved it for me. But yes, before you keep doing it, this was so funny and so good, and I love goofy wrestling, so I was very happy. But then Mercedes came to spoil everything, and was very upset. I love that Mercedes, the little detail that they don't really talk about. She she gets on her, like, she kind of crouches down or looks down, I forget, and she doesn't try to like move the table immediately. She talks to Harley through the puppet. I could
I
see a couple
know.
times too, at least especially towards the beginning. Mercedes was like trying to put on like a very I'm very upset face, but you could tell she was trying so hard, desperately not to break, not to corpse on TV. Um,
I
and
know.
so
What
good.
eventually she is going to fully go with Harley
Yes.
because you can tell that Harley just very specifically makes Mercedes absolutely die laughing.
And
And
I love
you
this
could bet
shit
the
because
moment you
oh,
could
go
bet
ahead.
the moment that they're doing like when they were doing like backstage segments together with the puppets or whatever, you could tell the moment the camera stopped rolling, she bursts into laughter because
Yeah,
she's
absolutely.
desperately trying to hold it together the entire time.
Yes. And I love that Mercedes does these kind of segments because people see her as this very serious, like incredibly arrogant, like I'm above everything kind of wrestler. And she's like making fun of those people by being like, how dare you mock me? I'm a very serious professional wrestler while she's talking to a fucking puppet instead of the person who's under the table controlling the puppet. But
Yeah, and I saw
yeah.
people like, why are they doing comedy? Why didn't we have a serious thing about why she wants to go for the world championship? We have like 5 weeks to go
Yeah.
until the show. Calm your tits. Like we're
Yeah.
gonna get there. You know what I
So
mean?
yes, absolutely. And speaking of the person under the table, so there was some discussion. People were like, "Oh, it's stat," and it's pre-recorded, and Harley is doing this off stage or something. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. That probably is what's going on. So Mercedes pushes the puppet into the cake, which is a nice diversion because I figured Mercedes was going into the cake, but she did, but not first. And so she pulls up Harley. And from out of fucking nowhere, I swear to God, the camera on this was so good. I guess Stat was under there too. And she came in and gave Mercedes, I forget what move she did, but she grabbed Mercedes and slammed her right into the cake. And it's just incredible. I loved the
It
whole
was
thing.
it was basically just a front slam into the cake. There doesn't need to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
anything more
sure.
sophisticated than that. But like, yeah, it was a very good subversion. I really like that because I was the one that was like, oh, it's stacked underneath the table, isn't it? It's not Harley. It's and then I was like, oh, it is Harley. And I was like, oh wait, no, it was both of them. And I have a question: how the fuck did they get underneath that table without anyone
That's
noticing
clown car behavior right there. I don't know how the fuck they did that. I
it?
just know that Harley was absolutely like right next to Stat, and she was very happy about it. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, well, I would be too. Um,
Same.
but yeah, um, great segment. If you hate that, you hate fun, and I don't want to. I don't want to know. Um, Mox cuts a good promo after that. Basically, he didn't really say much, but it was good. Go and watch it. We don't need to really talk about it.
Yeah.
But then he comes out for his match. Or first of all, Kyle O'Reilly comes out with the new conglomeration sort of friend
Yes.
style entrance video, which I love. Ishii playing the piano is phenomenal. Um,
That was amazing. I was like, this is bringing me back to the Muppets with Rolf the dog playing the piano. It's incredible stuff.
he has to
I,
be signed to a dual contract, right?
He has to be. I need that sitcom in my life. If TBS literally put a sitcom of the conglomeration scripted TV, I think I'd literally watch like a 30-minute episode pilot. I'd be seated. Absolutely. But
Yeah,
yeah, incredible stuff. I liked this match a lot. But I liked it. Well, I liked it more and more as it went along because Kyle's such a good wrestler and Mox is good at he's a lot better at the death jutsu than he used to be. But the finish is what made this match for me. And I don't know if you have much to say about like the actual match itself. I mostly want to talk about the finish,
Oh,
because
I
it's.
want to
Oh,
talk
go
about the
ahead.
match itself
Okay, you
because
go ahead then. I'll just talk about
I
the finish.
I thought this was a really excellent TV sort of technical wrestling exhibition because you get a lot of complaints about AEW sometimes from sort of old heads and contrarians and whatever that's like, oh well, they don't, where's the targeted of a limb, where's the traditional sort of mat wrestling and the selling and what I liked in the 80s from, I don't fucking know, the Rock and Roll Express and Mr. Perfect or whatever. And it's like, show them this match because some of the limb work and the sort of technical wrestling submissions on display here was really excellent stuff. I feel like Kyle O'Reilly doesn't get as much of an opportunity to express that sort of technical wrestling sort of expertise that he has, as much as he used to. Um, you know, it's AEW. It's not like their priority style. It's not the house style, if you like. But
Right.
every now and then he'll go out there and he will showcase this sort of mat wrestling and limb work and stuff that is fallen by the wayside in modern professional wrestling, for better or for worse. And it just reminds you that, oh yeah, this is wrestling right here. This is what your father grew up on. You know what I mean? And it's like I really appreciated it for that. I thought this was a really well told story throughout the match of Kyle constantly having John Moxley's number. In terms of Moxley trying to get back, he's a brawler naturally, but he does have some technical wrestling acumen, and he's trying to tap into that. But Kyle O'Reilly is just too good in that domain for him, so he constantly gets the upper hand. Mox constantly has to sort of almost debase himself by going for strikes and lariats and stuff like that. But eventually, Kyle O'Reilly, and I'll let you go on with this with the finish.
Yeah. Yeah, and all to say, I mean, I like technical wrestling. But as much as I love wrestling, I've come to accept that it's probably my least favorite of my favorite types of wrestling. Like like generally appreciate genuinely and generally appreciate like what it is and how it works, but you need to be really good at it to keep my attention. And I've just learned over the years it's tough for that kind of graps to get I don't mind it in short bursts. I don't mind it mixed into a match, but when the whole thing is that match, it's for me it's lessened. But I know other people really love it, and obviously that's totally fine. The finish is what really made the match for me. To be clear, I did really like the technical graps that Kyle and Mox both did in this match. I thought they did really well together. At first, I was like, well, I don't know about this because Mox hasn't done so well with the style in the past. But then I realized the story that we were telling, hashtag what we do. And, he was targeting the limbs that Mox got worked over at Wrestle Dream and, from Darby with all the God knows what. I mean, look at his arm in that promo. Anyway, all to
Yeah,
say, Kyle O'Reilly was handing Mox his goddamn ass, and I don't even know what that means, and he was just running circles around him. And so Mox is like, fuck this. And he elbows the ref in the face, gets a DQ. Now, normally, and I've said this before, I do not like DQ finishes as a general rule. I think they're
no,
lazy. I
me
think they're
neither.
cheap. I generally like it when people actually get a clean win or just get a win in general. Like I'd take interference over a DQ finish, right? But this fit the story so perfectly. Mox was desperate. Mox was already hurt from Wrestle Dream. He desperately didn't want to lose. He didn't want to lose face to his group, who already might be questioning him and probably going to turn on him after Blood and Guts when they lose again. It's such good, simple storytelling. I really liked it. I really appreciated it. That's what like made it like a really solid bit of TV work for me. So
Yeah,
the conglomeration and came out, and then the Death Riders came out. They started brawling, and then we got into our next match. But yeah, anything you want to say about the do you want to say anything about that
yeah. Only,
before we move on?
only to say that I agree with you that ordinarily I do not like DQ finishes. I think it is a lazy crutch that lazy bookers have used to justify lazy storytelling in promotions and eras gone by. And don't get me wrong, we have had a little bit of that in AEW prior. I'm thinking like Jay White versus Billy Gunn, for example. And in fairness to AEW, they've been used sparingly, but it's happened before. If you're going to do a DQ finish, it should be something like this, where you have a guy who is desperately, trying to save face. He's in an inescapable situation. If he doesn't, he's going to tap out. He's going to have to tap out. And in order to save face, in order to protect himself and his honor and his, standing in a group that is very much not receptive to people being weak, yeah, he DQs the ref, as a cop out. It's a perfect sort of chicken shit, like I said, or like you said, a face saving measure in order to, say to them, well, I lost, but it was a DQ, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
I thought it was a really, really well done bit of storytelling. And you could do DQs that have that sort of storytelling element to them. This may be a bit before your time, and I'm sorry to invoke the World Wrestling Federation, but I believe it was Steve Austin versus Kurt Angle, way back when, like 25 years ago. And Kurt Angle just kept having Stone Cold's number. He kept getting him in these sort of inescapable situations to eventually Stone Cold just couldn't beat him. And this was when Stone Cold was a heel, and he, after X7, and he just had to beat him via DQ, or lose via DQ because he didn't want to lose the title, and because he was like, I can't beat this guy. This guy is too good. And he tried and tried and tried, and eventually he was like, I can't do it. I just have to DQ. Done. Escape by the skin of his teeth. That is the sort of thing that DQs are meant to be a storytelling device for. That you can sort of tell the story of, oh, well, he had to disqualify himself because otherwise he was going to lose legitimately. And I just really appreciated it. I thought it was really good. And I really appreciated the smooth transition into the next match. I feel like Tony Khan does this every, sort of once every show or once every couple of shows, where he'll do that ECW style and seamlessly blend into the next thing. And I loved it. And I loved this next match as well. I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, this was great. The transition was awesome. I mean, Tony's always going to be an ECW mark at heart. So stuff like this really shows that, which I very much appreciate. But yeah, we got a trios match, Roddy and the Conglomeration versus specifically Briscoe and Cassidy versus the Death Riders, Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, and Daniel Garcia. No money or points if you guess who took the pin on this match.
Yeah.
But it was still really good. I thought the finish was great. I almost said strong because I was looking at Roddy's name, but it was good. Anything that you really want to like highlight? I don't remember a lot about this match, to be honest with you.
It's one of those matches where at the time I was like, and now I'm thinking it was a really good match. It was really great. You asked me to name something from it, I'm like, well, I mean, it was just all really good. I can't think of anything particularly specific. Not like you have some matches where it's like you have one or two spots you're like, oh my god, Jesus Christ, we need to talk about that.
Oh, I do want to talk about Briscoe's twisting press from the top. That was incredible. I've never seen Briscoe do that match, that move before in a match.
Can we just talk about how well Mark Briscoe over the last sort of couple of years has transitioned so seamlessly?
The guy lost his brother, like his tag partner, his literal brother, in a horrifying accident, and has I don't even know like what metaphor to make here, but has made lemonade from the worst possible lemons ever. And I'm astonished, honestly. I mean, like I know like some of it has to do with his faith, and like good for him on that, but it's just incredible to me that the amount that he's been able to go into this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, it was not a sure thing. When Jay died, and it was obvious that Tony Khan, sort of out of honor and respect, was going to give Mark Briscoe a singles run. It was absolutely no guarantee that it would be a success, because Mark Briscoe, it was not a singles guy. He was just categorically not a singles guy. he didn't wrestle singles matches. He was a Briscoe, and the Briscoes, even when the Briscoes spun off it to do their own thing for a while, it was always Jay Briscoe was the single star, and Mark Briscoe just sort of not fell to the wayside, but Jay Briscoe was always the focal point of any sort of Briscoe singles run. So it was by no means a sure thing that he would be any good as a singles wrestler, especially given his age and how long it had been since he had done any sort of singles work. What a revelation Mark Briscoe has been as a singles guy. To reinvent himself at the age that he is, he's 40 years old, so he was sort of late 30s, and he'd been wrestling for 20 years before that. Like, absolutely incredible. He has gone from a tag guy that couldn't even get on AEW TV because of David Zaslav's fucking bullshit, and now all of a sudden he is like a focal point of AEW TV, genuinely one of the most reliable singles guys on the entire roster. His series with Kyle Fletcher, and we'll talk about it in a minute, is genuinely fantastic stuff. Like, oh, it's brilliant. Like, phenomenal. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah. And then sorry, I don't mean to dismiss but I just totally agree. The J Driller that he gave too, the ring apron, I want to say, looks really, really good. I thought he did that. Maybe he did that at the pay-per-view with Kyle. But yeah, this was a good match. This was a great match. Pretty standard trios match, nothing amazing. And I think, I'm kind of having a hard time even thinking about spots besides that twisting press that really impressed me from the match. But yeah, good stuff all around. I love that I kind of saw where we were going with Pac and Ishii, and I'm glad that they are actually doing it. I wasn't just making stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah, what was I gonna say? This is one of those things where I'm a little bit sort of curious where they go with it, though. Because sorry, there's things going on behind me. I don't really understand what's going on. There's a lot of commotion. I'll figure it out after we stop recording.
Okay. I mean, it seems like blood and guts, right? That seems like what they're doing. The conglomeration plus Darby is facing
it makes sense.
The Death Riders.
It does make sense. I think it'll be good. I thought that tonight would have been the night that Claudio put Mox down, but obviously that's not where we're going. I think sorry, word salad. I think it will now be at Blood and Guts when Claudio finally puts the old dog down, for his failures, for quitting. I imagine, I think it will probably be Mox, because the whole step of Blood and Guts is that it's either submission or someone, throws in the towel. I don't think it can be won by pinfall, right? It's submission or surrender.
I think so. Old war games. It's been a while since I've done it.
I think it is like old war games, WCW style, where it's submission or surrender. There's no pinfall. So I would imagine that either Mox taps again, although more likely he surrenders, perhaps to sort of save, I don't know, Wheeler Yuta or something like that, or no, probably to save Marina Shafir. And that is what snaps Claudio, and he says, I will not suffer this weakness any longer. Kills Mox dead, and that's where we go. And that's when Darby is free of the Death Riders because they've imploded, and we spin off to Claudio versus Mox, which has all the ingredients to be a phenomenal feud.
Absolutely. Now you're cooking with a stew. But yeah, this was a good match. After this, I have a lot to say about what happened next, even though it only took like less than a minute. So Mercedes is Alicia Atout caught up with Monet, and Mercedes is still have a bunch of cake and screaming, and it was very funny. Athena shows up. First off, but then second, she shows up to talk about how they're both there to make history, get all the belts, yada yada, and so they should be world tag team champions. And Monet said that'd be great, and Athena's like, great, we start minion trading immediately. And I love the way Mercedes went, hell no. But I got in a big discussion about this on Blue Sky, and I'm not going to reiterate the whole thing, but basically, I feel it makes sense. There's two ways you could do this, right? There's the way that I'm going to say that might piss some people off, but I think it makes sense. The show before Full Gear for the finals, it is in Boston, right? I'm going to be there. And I think this is the first ever time in my life that I've had two AEW shows back to back in the same week, and one of them's a pay-per-view too. But anyway, so it's going to be in Boston. Obviously, Mercedes is from there. And so you could do, as a main event, it would have to be main event. It couldn't be anything else. You could do Mercedes and Athena because they're not losing to Harley and Willow, and they're not losing. I don't think they're losing Dominata and Hater. They could be, but I don't think so. I think they're going all the way to the finals. I know they have a weak alliance. I know that probably the idea is to break them up and have Athena probably. All right, here we go with the copium. Probably the idea is to have Athena lose the belt to Billy after the millionth fucking time because there's no one else on ROH that makes sense. Find someone else, Adam. Find someone else that it makes sense for. Anyway, and then she's going to fight Mercedes and she's going to get the TBS title, right? I think that's the long-term plan. I could be totally wrong. I don't know. Sometimes Athena's booking fucking confuses me. But anyway, so they could do that match with them versus Tony and Mina on the main event of Dynamite. Now, some people have said, well, I was talking to a couple friends and they were like, well, that seems weird because it's not a pay-per-view. You could do another idea, which our editor Shim has already mentioned, so taking full credit. You could have at the beginning of the show, and Adam kind of said this too, you could have at the beginning of the show, you could have that tag match for the finals, and then the main event, or at least semi-main event, I don't know, we don't know what they're doing. I presume they're running Joe and Hangman, but I mean, I'd rather see Stat versus Mercedes 3, to be honest with you. So they could do that as the main event. And then when Mercedes loses to Stat, which she is, by the way, I don't think there's any way she's winning. She is, she can say, well, I was really tired from my tag match. I don't think, by the way, she win. I think Full Gear might be, this is a lot of fantasy booking. I apologize. I'm going to stop talking in a second so Adam can take over. But I think what we're doing here is we're starting the downfall of Mercedes because she's beaten Ultimo Dragon's record. There's really nothing else for her except for the world title, right? And putting people over, of course. Like they just mentioned some random Canadian promotion on live national television, and I bet a lot of people were like, "Oh shit!" So that's really cool for them. But yeah, this could be setting up her downfall. She loses because maybe Billy gets involved, or maybe Stat costs her the tag match. I don't know. Maybe Stat cost her earlier, but I don't think so. Again, I don't see them losing until the finals because look at Athena's win-loss record. Look at Mercedes' win-loss record. Look, they're big stars. I know they're from me, originally from WWE. Whatever. Who fucking cares? Like at this point, they're basically AEW for life, as far as I can tell. So that's my whole thought. I know that was a lot, but I mean, he fucking went off about Julia Hart, so I'm allowed to go off about Athena and Mercedes, two of the best women ever do it. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong there. I thought this. I mean, this bleeds into the sort of announcement of the brackets, and we'll talk about that here because it makes sense.
Yeah,
it's a really exciting bracket. I think it's a very unpredictable one because I can see it going a lot of different ways. Because you have, on one hand, you have a lot of the more sort of established tag teams, so to speak, where it's like Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford, Ty J, the Sisters of Sin, and stuff like that. But on the other hand, you have these tag teams that have come together, fairly recently, and they're less established as tag teams or whatever. But also, you look at the people in them. How the fuck are you going to root against Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa? How are you going to root against Mercedes Moné and Athena? And that's even talking about people like teams like Aminata and Hater, who just won the big sort of showcase tag team match. So it's like a really interesting clash between the more established sort of tag teams that you could make the argument for, well, they should probably be the inaugural holders, like Ty J or Mega Bad or whatever. But then you sort of sit back and you think, well, yeah, but also, are you really going to beat Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa? Should you beat them? because they're, two of the biggest stars. I mean, in Tony's case, probably the biggest star in the entire division. Arguably, Tony Storm might be the biggest star in AEW. Full stop. So it's like, if you're gonna put her in the tournament, are you really putting her in there just to lose, or are you putting her in there because you want Tony Storm to be the first women's tag team champion? You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I muted myself so that way I wasn't like going to interrupt you at all because I wanted you to like fully go off on that. But yes, had to unmute myself. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. I do think that there's two major ways this could go. I think it's either Mina, and I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong. I don't fucking know what goes on in Tony Khan's head. He's a goddamn billionaire. But like, I think that it's either Tony or Mina who just both lost their belts, and I think that someone is going to cost Athena and Mercedes. Now that does mean Athena could I'd rather Mercedes take the pin than Athena, honestly, because I feel like Athena's taken too many pins already in AEW. But I mean, that's just me being very protective of like Athena and her run. But I mean, like, fuck it. Like, if Athena is confident enough and Tony's confident enough that they can just, they can run it back and Athena can beat Mercedes for the title. I mean, I think you could do that at World's End. I think that'd be awesome. But regardless, I totally get what you're saying. I do think there are multiple ways this is going. I do think it's kind of sucks that Ty J is probably just going to get thrown to Megabad and just lose because they are such a established team and arguably I think the first women's tag team, like official women's tag team. So I feel like they should be making it farther than. I mean, they could pin Penelope, right? They could. I mean, Penelope gets pinned all the time in mega bad matches, right? She's the weak link, respectfully. Not obviously not like
Yeah.
in reality. She's an incredible professional. I just mean in kayfabe, right? She's the weak link. To be clear, love you, Penelope. But anyway, so I think you could have Anna or Ty like pin Penelope. I don't think that's what's going to happen though. But the brackets look really good.
There's also the argument that, like, yes, Ty J was was maybe the first women's tag team in AEW, and you want to honor that, sort of legacy or whatever. But also, you cannot be beholden to, the legacy of the past when looking at what you want to put on TV in the future. Mega Bane and Penelope Ford they're just a better team. You know what I mean? They're just like, they work better, they hit harder, they have a better presence, they have a better finisher, they have a better this, a better that. You cannot be beholden to, oh well, we want to honor, the sort of people that paved the way or whatever. You are honoring them by putting them in the tag tournament. You should not be beholden to that when thinking, okay, how are we going to book this? It's like when Jeff Jarrett was in the Owen. A really nice touch, because obviously he was really good friends with Owen Hart, and you're harkening back to that and whatever. Really nice touch, really heartfelt thing. You weren't going to have him win the fucking thing.
Yeah, and I don't want them to win. I just think it's a shame that they are. I think it's a shame they're getting eliminated in the first round, but I don't need them past the second round, to be clear, let alone the finals. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but also someone has to lose in the first round. Four teams have to lose in the first round. I would make the argument that I don't want Willow Nightingale to be eliminated in the first round, but at the same time, I desperately do not want Mercedes and Athena eliminated in the first round. And that's what happens when you have such a stacked tournament. You have people who are really good wrestlers, really established stars, and they're going to have to lose. That's the nature of a tournament. You can only have one winner.
Yeah. So I do agree. I still part of me still thinks it's a shame they're losing to Megabad, but I agree that they are the better team. And I mean, it's not like Anna Jay and Ty have like gotten so much better than they used to be. Like they're decent, but I've even said it before. I think they're like mid-level, women's tag. They're good to put in matches, especially hardcore matches. But I just, at this point, I'm not confident that they're going to improve much more than they already have. I mean, Anna Jay's been with the promotion the whole 6 years, and she had that brief stint with Mariah, and I thought she was good with it, but I just don't think she's ever taken that next step. And she looked good in Stardom, too. I watched some of those matches, and she looked
Anna
good,
Jay,
but...
Anna Jay, for me, is potential woman. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, every now and then she will come back. She'll do, like, a Stardom run, or she'll come back from injury or whatever, and she'll have one or two good matches where you're like, holy shit, Anna Jay's really good, and then it's like, oh, and we've moved on, okay, because as the nature of the beast, she's another one of these people where I would be like, that Stardom residency really worked. It was just too short. If you're not going to use her on TV, or if you're only going to, if you want her to be in that role of like a mid-carder, women's tag team woman, then she's in the perfect position. If you want her to be more than that, she's not going to do it on AEW doing the same thing. She's got to do something else. But that's the nature of the beast. You need mid-carders in a promotion. You need lower carders in a promotion. You need jobbers in a promotion. I'm not saying she is, but I'm just saying you need these people in these roles. Not everyone can be a main eventer. That's just the nature of the business, unfortunately.
Yeah. Anyway, we've talked enough about this. Let's talk about this goddamn main event, which was incredible.
Just to briefly say, Mark Briscoe and Carl Fletcher had a promo,
right.
And
yeah,
we don't need to talk about it too much. Just Mark Briscoe said, one more shot. I want one more shot at the TNT title. Don Callis got in the way and said, no, fuck off.
Good.
Basically.
Good.
And also, Mina Shirakawa was backstage with Renee. She's, hasn't heard from Tony
Oh,
Storm.
yeah, this part. Yes, this I definitely want to talk about.
Yeah, I like this because I love Tekla. She's a really good promo as well. Yeah. I saw something online that I'm not going to repeat.
I was just thinking about it too. Big bundle of six.
Yes. A meat, a sort of British meatball.
Sure.
Yeah. It's what they call them,
I know. But yeah, she walked up to Mina and she was like, "Hey," no, I'm kidding. She said, she basically said, "I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm the Joshi Slayer. I hate you. We've Mina's like, we've wrestled in Japan. Always impressed, by the way. Mina's English. I know we probably don't need to talk about it at this point, but Mina is so good with her English and her like speaking. Anyway, she was like, we've fought before in Japan. I kicked your ass there. I'll kick your ass here. And Tekla's like, well, if Tony's sad now, just think about how sad she's going to be after she has to pick up your carcass on Collision. She didn't say that, but she basically said that. One on the crime board. Anyway, this was good. I'm very excited. This is another reason why Collision should be a must watch. I'm very excited to see these two go at it. They had quite a few matches, I want to say, mostly in trios, not in singles, in Stardom. I was watching back when Tekla was there, so I'm pretty sure I've seen a few of the matches where they were in, so they should have great chemistry.
I was also watching. We don't need to talk about her hate run. We really don't. I'm sorry.
No,
there's a reason. There's a reason why a lot of people were very, very skeptical of Tekla coming into AEW who watched Stardom, because they were like, last year she's been dog shit, and then she came into AEW and everyone was like, oh, never mind, she's brilliant. Why was I ever worried? But yeah, this main event, holy shit. I mean, when this was announced after Wrestle Dream, it was one of the first things I saw coming off the plane, because it wasn't a spoiler, so people felt free to post it in places that weren't spoilers. So I saw that and was like, oh my fucking god, they're putting this on free TV. Kazuchika Okada versus Bandido on free TV. This can main event a pay-per-view, and it's just on a Wednesday. Oh, and I don't know about you, but I thought this lived up to the hype and then some.
This was a really great match. I had a ball with it. I think if this had been pay-per-view, I think this would have been elevated a couple levels. But as it was, I mean, this was very clearly and obviously and far and away the match of the night for me. Just such a fun match between them. The moves that Bandido pulled off, the reversals, Bandido hitting the Rainmaker, Okada looking really strong, the top rope moves that Bandido did. I mean, this was so good. And of course, you've got the pitch perfect Okada drop kick that looked really good. The X knee, I don't know why the fuck they call it that, but it was it was really good overall.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, where do you even start with this match? First of all, I want to put over, I think it's a legitimate injury with Bandido on his shoulder. But even if it's not, or even if it is, the selling and the narrative thread of his shoulder in the last few matches that he has taken part of has been absolutely stellar. I talked about limb work in the Mox match earlier, and I don't know whether he's selling or whether he's really fucked his shoulder. I think it might be the latter, to be honest. Obviously, he's okay to wrestle. But yeah, I think the narrative thread of Bandido needing his shoulder to hit the 21 plex, but being unable to use it, and then in the end with the match at Wrestle Dream not even needing it, which is fucking badass. The best that 21 plex has ever looked, which is not saying much. Can you finish it, please, Bandido? But yeah, this match ruled. I thought a lot of the sort of there's a spot in this match that made me audibly gasp, which is when Okada's in the corner and Bandido is going to hit like a splash in the corner, and he gets up to hit the splash, and Okada gets his legs up and shotgun drop kicks him out of the air, and it lands like a gunshot. Like, Jesus Christ. Do you know the bit I'm on about?
I don't remember.
Oh, well, yeah, Okada's in the corner, Bandido goes to slash him, and Okada jumps up, shotgun drop kicks him, and yeah, bam, right in the chest, like swatting a fly out the air.
Yeah. I think I remember this now. Yeah, the shotgun drop kick looked real good.
But yeah, this whole match was brilliant. When Bandido hit the Rainmaker, I was like, I popped like a motherfucker for that. I was like, this is incredible. Oh, just Okada's a weird one in AEW where he gets a lot of criticism from a lot of people because it's not up to the standard of his New Japan work. They think, he's another Nakamura, he's come over to get the money done. Not too much. But somewhat quietly over the past few months, Okada has been on a really good run. Like a really good run. Now I'm thinking he had matches with Speedball, Omega, obviously. The Swerve match, the Bandido match at Wrestle Dream. Who did he fight at all? Oh, the fucking triple threat with Mascara Dorada and Takeshita was incredible. Like, he's been on a really, really good run over the past few months, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it. But he's quietly elevated himself once again to being one of the true consistent highlights of AEW. So yeah, massive prop. Oh, the Kota Ibushi match on Dynamite, which was absolutely insane. Oh Jesus, yeah. The more I look at it, the more I look at this sort of repertoire, I'm like, this man is on fire right now. So yeah, this was just another notch in Okada's repertoire of excellence over the past few months. And Bandido
I made a joke. I made a
on.
joke earlier, or not earlier, but like earlier this week or whatever, about like the coughing baby versus nuclear bomb meme, where it's like TV Okada versus pay-per-view Okada. But it might be at this point that it's slightly weaker nuclear bomb versus much more powerful nuclear bomb. Because like Okada sometimes just is like, nah, fuck it. This is basically a pay-per-view match. I'll just lock in anyway. And I want to be clear too. I don't buy into the narrative that Okada's lazy or whatever, or he's not like there's a standard for him that's just never gonna you're not getting 2018 Okada with Kenny Omega every single fucking match or even every single pay-per-view. Like, that's just a standard that shouldn't be held to him. He's a comedy wrestler who has been forced to lock in every single time. And like, anyway, this was a really great match. I know I already said that, but I really want to emphasize it. If you go out of your way to watch one match, it's got to be this one. I thought that, the finish was really good. It was, because it was Continental Rules, people are like, oh, is so-and-so going to get involved? So like, no, it's Continental Rules. So that's the great thing about it. Don Callis himself didn't even get involved. So that was good. Totally clean finish. Just a great bit of stuff. Do you want to talk about what happened after the match real briefly? And then we'll call it there.
Only to say as well, the finish of the match I thought was excellent because Okada's set up, he's in the ropes for the 21 plex. And just as Bandido goes to hit it, Okada shifts out of the ropes. So Bandido ends up flipping over his head, lands on his feet. Okada's behind him, grabs the wrist, Rainmaker. What a finish. I thought that was really excellently executed.
Yeah, that was really good stuff too. And I know you said this earlier, but I want to re-highlight, Bandido hitting that Rainmaker looked really good. And Kim was so confused because she was like, wait, like, he hit Okada with the Rainmaker. How come that didn't work? And I kind of had to explain to her, like, well, there's this thing in wrestling where if you hit somebody else's move, you're just not going to do it as well as they do it because it's their move. So
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
not going to be as effective. But yeah, I sound like a fucking, like a
it's like
weirdo.
anyone. It's like anyone else that hits the one-winged angel doesn't get the three
Right.
count, but every time Kenny hits it, it's unkick-outable. But yeah, I thought this was a great match. And then to end, Okada is celebrating in the ring. The entire Don Callis family, go down to the ring to celebrate. And then Konosuke Takeshita's music hits. The crowd absolutely went insane, which I thought was like, yeah, they know. It's Konosuke Takeshita. He's one of the best wrestlers on the planet. But, it was still gratifying to hear the crowd go nuts for him. And it did seem like the battle lines were somewhat drawn here, where you had the entire Don Callis family, of the sort of, I don't want to say the job squad, that's mean, but like Lance Archer, Mark Davis, Rocky Romero, Josh Alexander, the sort of the backup of the Don Callis family. Sorry, all surrounding Okada, celebrating with him, and then you had Don Callis and Carl Fletcher, trying to calm Takeshita down and looking up into the ring. I wonder whether that is a neat piece of foreshadowing for the eventual sort of implosion of the family around Okada and Takeshita. Whether Carl Fletcher will be loyal to Takeshita over the rest of the family.
Yeah. I do think we see Kyle and Takeshita both leave probably by the end of the year to make the Don Callis family somewhat more manageable. Although I do think they've been doing an admirable job with it despite that.
Do you know what's crazy as well? This show had 5 matches, and only one member of the Don Callis family was in a match, which I think is like some sort of record for Dynamite this year. When you consider how many fucking people are in that stable.
Yeah, I totally,
Oh.
absolutely. The numbers are crazy. He's got his own. I know I've said this before. His own little miniature album,
I tell you, I tell you which.
army. Sorry,
Mm,
his little mini army, which is just
I
it's a
tell you
huge
which
stable at
wrestler.
this point.
Tell you which wrestler wasn't wrestling from the Don Callis family, Andrade Idolo.
Soon, the demon will be home again, and by soon I mean probably in a year.
Yeah, 1 year's time. Mark your calendar.
Mark your cal. He sure is.
But yeah, this was a really good it's a really good show. I really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to watch, especially the 2 sort of best matches of the night, which I think were Mox and Kyle and Okada Bandido. I think those 2 were really, really excellent. But yeah, we've gone on quite a bit for this one, which is appropriate because it is our first time back. Sorry, Justin, for all of the work. But yeah, we will. I think that pretty much wraps us up, right? Was there anything you wanted to add?
No, I think that's about it. Honestly, actually looking at the time, I think we've only been at it for an hour and a half. Well, only. But I mean that's pretty typical, usually hour 15, hour 30. But y'all don't need to know the behind the scenes shit. But yeah, this was great. I'm glad we were able to get back in the studio, so to speak, and talk about Dynamite and Wrestle Dream a little bit. We almost were able to talk about Wrestle Dream, but he was too busy being a champagne socialist. So no
Yeah,
Wrestle Dream for us, but
and
did our own
also,
little recap package.
and also the fence, has been working with some of the jewels a bit too long, and I had to deal with it. It's the whole fucking thing.
It all
You
comes
don't need
full
to.
circle, baby.
You don't need to know. But
Yeah.
needless to say, if it all clears, this will be the final modcast review, and I'm fucking off to Tahiti. So fuck all you bitches. I'm rich now.
That's right. All right. Well, hey, if y'all never hear from us again, specifically never hear from Adam again, you know why. He's on his way to Crown Jewel. Wait, no, sorry, wrong thing.
It doesn't matter. Hey, it doesn't. You could steal as many crown jewels. You're not getting WWE front row money anytime soon.
That's true. You'd have to steal the entire set just to get cheap seats.
Yeah. But yeah,
But yeah, this was great, and I'm excited to keep going. I'm excited to go back to it and talk about more Dynamite next week. Maybe we'll even like say a piece or two about that 8-man tag because that's looking real
yeah,
good.
absolutely. I want to talk about that as soon as we can. So yeah, we will be back next week with another episode, and we will be consistent this time because I don't have any more holidays booked for the rest of the year.
Woo!
And unless again the money clears. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Thank you so much for sticking with us and returning with us if you have. Do all the normal things of the liking and the subscribing and the blah blah blah. That Thank you to Dory for joining me once again. It's always good to talk wrestling with you.
Wrestling. I just learned an interesting fact about the United Kingdom. Y'all's number for 911 is 999. So if you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
mind, I am going to give them a call. Just make sure that they're aware of any potential criminals in their midst. And we'll see you guys next week, maybe.
The police do not fucking work here. Come on.
Imagine I did. All right. Bye,
We've had
everybody.
15 years of austerity. They're not fucking doing shit. Anyway. Anyway, sorry. That's an excellent note to end on. But yes, thank you very much for joining us and goodbye.
Good night. Bang.